Hey guys, just gonna do a quick video about countdowns. This video is meant to be a reference tool or a learning tool for people who are new to using countdowns or people that are just looking for different ways to do them. And what I mean by different ways is that everyone processes information differently. They see a situation and they react and they think in their own way. My countdowns might be different than yours, but because of that, I'm going to explain my thoughts on why I made the decisions I made, and that will hopefully give you guys some ideas on how to do them, or just something to compare to if you want to just think differently about it. These apply only to the solo queue and not the LP. And I'm also going to be giving a little bit of tips about the jobs I play, which is mainly just Dragoon and Black Mage and solo. And I have 2 games recorded, I have 4 games recorded, but 2 for each job, 2 for Dragoon and 2 for Black Mage, and these were all done at gold rank and halfway through season 10. And I could do another video at like high diamond, but I think I'm not going to do that this season, maybe next season, just depending on how it is. But just to get started, loaded into this match, and it seemed pretty favored in my side because it's about the same across the melee and healers. It's mainly like the huge skill discrepancies are with the ranged and the tank. Like my team, personally speaking, I think it's a lot better, so that's why we were favored to win this match. And just to get it started, I think I did a countdown on Mellow first. It's usually safer to do the first countdown in the melee, so you don't really like commit too many of your healers countdown, or not countdowns, they're cooldowns early on, because you're not really diving that far for the kill as they're bursting you. But Mellow plays pretty far back here, and I burn elusive for it. And I ended up getting off a pretty scuffed burst here. I don't really blow anything at all. I almost died though. Their Bard uses Safeguard for almost no reason here, but I recognize that, and instead of going on Mellow again, which would have been a safer target, I decided to go on the Bard just because they blew Safeguard. I'm just taking advantage of them making a mistake like that. And also, Spurs is a little bit risky for me too because I don't have Safeguard anymore. But we should be killing this target here because they have both. Almost have both summoner dots on them, and I have buffs for it. And then I just try to back off as soon as I can just to save some of the healers' MP and their cooldowns. But I decided to go for another burst because Mellow used his Safeguard there. And right here, I think I hold my Gearskagul until after... I hold my Chaos Thrust and my Gearskagul till after his Safeguard falls off. And I did the countdown on Mellow mainly because he blew Safeguard for no reason again. The burst before, it wasn't on him, it was on the Bard. But for this one, I don't think we get him. I'm not 100% sure. I get disabled here. Yeah. I think for the next burst, I go back on Mellow though, because again, there's 3 targets I can go on right now. It's the healer, which is playing really far back, and there's Mellow, who's playing Mellow's the closest and safest target, and there's also the Bard, which is playing pretty far back as well. And the Bard also, even though they have no Safeguard, they still have light metals, so it's going to be pretty hard to kill them because I'd have to be diving in, and they'd have that reduced damage. So Mellow was the best choice here to go on. I don't think we kill him here. I think I get I almost die and I elusive back, but this Unmen kills me. Yeah. I would have lived after that elusive, but the Unmen pulled me back in, and Mello was able to get off his GCDs, which ended up finishing me off. They also killed Ken here, which was pretty unfortunate. I think he wasted a lot of cooldowns on me because I was because I got unmended in. Right here, they're all on Brian. Like, I recognize that they're all chasing Brian for the kill after Ken died. And so what I'm able to do is I'm able to Spine Shatter to Azura, and then I'll pick up both LB boxes, because even though I'm really out of position here, they aren't really doing anything because they're all tunneled on Brian. And I start building my bursts again, and I see Mello has 2 stacks. And I decide to do a countdown on him, I think, just to get his safeguard. So then we can do a follow-up burst after on him just to kill him. Actually, I was mistaken. This one was a, I think I got ahead of myself. Right here is when Papa actually does a countdown on Azura. He sees her out of position. You see she's in front of the wall over here. And this was really good team play right here because Brian has home gang, and I think he pulls her in. Yeah, I elusive over because I had blown Spine Shatter just for burst, and right here Brian home gangs her just to keep her out of position, and I ended up LBing this one mainly because I didn't have burst, and I also, I don't know, this was a pretty risky LB from my part, not only because it was late, but she had Bull on her too. And Bull with the Dark Knight is pretty spooky because the Bull reduces all the damage they're gonna take, and the Blackest Knight is gonna increase her like effective HP. So she really is gonna have like around 14,000 HP with the shield included in that HP amount, and Bull's gonna reduce all of that coming down, but I think we end up getting her anyway. Yeah. And then right here, Mello again used Safeguard for I don't know why, but he has Butcher's Block on him and a Summoner Dot on him already, so I think I pick up these medals and I try to dive at him. I don't even know what that was. Is that elusive? I have no idea how he got there. But the thing about right here is that this is something I actually really want to talk about. Was I recognize Mills how he's really far in the corner, and so I'm trying to use Spine Shatter on him, right, just to get to him and kill him faster, but he ends up running forward, and I end up changing my decision on using Spine Shatter, and I end up switching it to jump here just to get to him, mainly because there's a thing about Dragoon jump that you can do that's like kind of unique to Dragoon and not really to other melees, where because jump puts you back to the place that you jumped, you'll sometimes jump around a wall and you'll be line of sighting where you jumped from, so you'll end up on the other side of the wall, and it can be really, really beneficial to your positioning to hitting the target. And right here, I see Mello coming around the corner, and I was thinking that Mello would, because their healer died, I believed he would try to delay his death for as long as possible so his team could run away. But I figured he would run behind the wall again. He was just like peeking, but he ends up not going around the corner, so my jump doesn't really achieve what I wanted it to do. Or he did go back, but I just did it at the wrong time, I guess. But right here is when I use my Spine Shatter to get the Dravioli, and then I end up jumping around the corner here. I think, yeah, it's because Dravioli he's right there, and he only has one place to run if he wants to live, and that's towards the stairs or around the wall. So I end up hitting jump, and it takes me around the wall, and it puts me in a really good spot to kill him. I don't think we kill him though, because he has safeguard. But if you see people around the wall in that spot, that's a good time that you can use Dragoon Games just to get to them and to get around that wall. It's pretty hard to time, but like, see, I'm hitting it right here, and it's gonna put me at a good spot when I actually do make the impact on him. And then it's this line of sight's where I came from, and then I'm gonna be on the other side of the wall, which would be way better for my positioning than like Sakuchi or the Samurai Dash. And then, let's see. So at this point in the game, all of them have light metals except the tank, which is in like permanent tank stance. So I do think I decided to go on Mellow a lot here because he has one light metal, and again, he's the safest target. Actually, that would be the case, but Dravioli ends up getting hit by the co-meteor from Papa, so I decided to just try to take advantage of it. If we're ever going to kill him, it's going to be now because he has the damage increase, and he also has no safeguard. So I think we do get pretty close here, but ends up being no dice. He also tank LBs too, which is pretty good. We get both their defensive LBs off that. And a light speed too, damn. I did make a call on Azura here after seeing that light speed though. I see she has no DRs, she has Butcher's Block on her, and she also just blew light speed. So she's a prime target just to be bursted. And I don't remember how this goes exactly. Oh, I think Brian came here a little bit late, and we do end up not getting her because of the TBN and Bull, like I described earlier. Their Bard just uses Safeguard off cooldown right here, and that's something to always be watching for. It's just people misusing their Safeguard or using it like at unoptimal times, and you really just take advantage of it. I think I go on Mellow again though, mainly because again the melee is the safest target, and I think also at this point in the game I have no safeguard too, so I'm not trying to dive in and really like, you know, just commit to a kill because there's a high chance I'm gonna die, and my team has a really huge lead, and I don't want to like throw that away. I do get a safeguard. I think we get TBN too, and Drav usually uses safeguard here too for no reason. But he's a tank that's in permanently in tank stance, so it's gonna be really hard to kill him. It's not impossible. It's just gonna take a big effort, and it's not something that my team needs to win the game. It's better to just pressure their DPS just to get them off like our targets, our teammates. Sorry. Let's see, calling. I think I die here actually. Yeah. I try to bait. I think I bait Essential Dignity from Azura right here with that Spine Shatter. And then the countdown's actually on Mellow. But I think I still die. I know I die here. But baiting is something that it can really help you out and make more windows for you to burst if you're making them use countdown, or not countdowns, but cooldowns at the wrong time. Like right there, I get the Essential Dignity that would have been on Mellow when we were going to burst them just by Spine Shattering to Azura. That's all I needed to commit right there was Spine Shatter, and I think I do my Disembowel too. Yeah, and then there's her Essential Dignity, all for just two things that aren't even my burst. And then we decided to go on Mellow, but he LBs me, and I get destroyed. Feels bad, man. I died with Safeguard too. Melo did a good job there, though. He was playing pretty far back. So right here, it's pretty important to deny limit break, especially the last limit breaks when you're in a game like this, because if Melo gets the LBs, they'll have double LB. And getting both adrenalines for Brian would be really, really good for us, because when he tank LBs, they can't really do anything at all. And that's really what we need. I know the game has a minute and 26 seconds left, so no matter what, there's going to be a culling. So no matter what, it's going to get really, really scary. And Melo gets one. I don't know if he ends the game with a limit break, but again, I'm trying to have the team know that we're going to really be focusing Melo here. I have him marked with one, and I start doing the countdown. I'm really trying to pressure Melo because I think he has, out of anyone on their team, he has the greatest chance of killing someone. And he also has no safeguard and one light metal. I do some like scuffed ass bursts because of his positioning, and they also use TBN for it too. You see, Melo used Dragon Sight, and he used it around like 105, 107, so that's pretty much going to be his last Dragon Sight of the game. He's going to have another one around like 5 seconds, but this is like, they're committing a lot to this burst. So right here, let's see, I think the Bard was out of position here, that's why I called them instead of Melo. Normally I would be pressuring the melee because you just want to deny them LB, but I think the Bard was just playing really close, and I just decided to go on them. That kill there pretty much just secures the game though. Yeah, I don't think they kill anyone at the end here. I end up doing a countdown on Dravioli because at the end of the game, a lot of the times I'll decide to do, if the tank has stacks, I'll do a countdown on them, mainly because I expect the tank to drop their stance towards the end of the game out of like desperation just to get the kill. Like, it's basically all or nothing for Dravioli at this point. He might as well drop stance to kill someone, and I'm anticipating that. That's why I'm like calling the team to burst on him, but I don't think he does. But it's something that's pretty common with tanks, and it just makes sense for them to do it too. So that was that game, and I think the next game was right here. I end up switching to Aether just to have a different pool of players. So I don't really know a lot of the players too well on Aether, but I recognize Prazel. I don't recognize the healer here, but I notice their additionals here, and I make a note of it in my mind that a lot of our bursts are going to be receiving the full heals of the Astrologian because they have so much like things to prevent CC. And let's see, I recognize the Bard and the melee, and I think I make a guess here at the beginning of the game that just because I have an extremely good healer and a pretty good range, that we're gonna win. I think just the fact that we have a warrior, all they really need to do is put up Butcher's Block and like a Fell Cleave, and that's all they really need for solo queue. Doesn't really matter if Prazel's a better tank. I think I do first countdown on Mash. Yeah, he blows Chinten really early into the game. I don't know why, A lot of the times when I'm playing against the samurai, I'll try to do countdowns on them a lot just to keep their burst down because their Chiten or whatever the blue thing is, I think it's Shinten. Shinten, that's what it is. Shinten, it it shares the same gauge as their burst. So the more times you're making them use Shinten, the more time the less times they're gonna burst, if that makes any sense. Because they share the same gauge. And I think I wait till after it drops to do a countdown on him, but he ends up just using Safeguard before I even do anything anyways. So then I changed it to Seraph, their Bard. I didn't need to commit anything at all to Mash for him to blow both his defensive cooldowns, or two of his three because he didn't use Recoup. So as soon as I see that Safeguard, I changed my mind because I didn't need to do anything to get it, and we're not going to kill him with it up. So I changed it to their Bard to hopefully get it with the first burst that we built. And we get TBN and Safeguard and his Recoup. So the next burst should theoretically kill someone because they blew so much for that. I didn't see if their healer blew ED, but Mash should die here. Or not Mash, sorry. The healer. The healer was the one I did it on because I think I called it on them because they were playing so far up. They were out of position. Looking at this again, I probably should have gone on Mash just because of his positioning, but I think I expected the healer to stay there. It's all hindsight, really. I expected the healer to stay there, so I called them, but looking at it now, remembering how I would have thought, that's why I called the healer, but hindsight, I should have called Mash. And I think I'm way too far forward for anyone on my team anyways. That was a pretty bad call by me, to be honest. But again, I anticipated the healer to stand there, and that was my mistake. But again, it was a learning experience that I'll end up taking note of later in the game, that if that healer is playing forward, they are going to run back. They aren't just going to stay close. Yeah. So now I just think I decided to do a burst on Mash. He uses his Shinten though, and we get their TBN. I do another countdown on Mash to take advantage of them using both TBN and Shinten on the last burst. So this burst on Mash sorry, should be unmitigated. So it should theoretically be a kill because there's nothing to stop it now. And we get pretty close, and I think because he dashes forward, he dies. He might have been out of range of his healer. But because there's a DPS down, and I'm gonna have Safeguard when their DPS comes up, I really decide to push in here and try to get some of their cooldowns. Yeah, I end up deciding to ignore the boxes here, and I think my thought process right here was that even though I'm using Dragon Sight into a target that has both defensive cooldowns. It's usually not a good idea to use Dragon Sight on targets it's usually not good to use Dragon Sight on a burst that you know for a fact is going to be mitigated because you're just wasting your buffs for a kill that would never have happened. But I think I do it here mainly because I knew boxes were up, so my Dragon Sight would be, I guess, recovering. It would come off cooldown by the time we're done with boxes, or be close to it. It'd be about halfway. I just decided to put it on cooldown here just to get a use out of it. And we almost end up killing him too because he was late with his defensives. Yeah, I think what I did here is what I do here is pretty ballsy actually. I recognize that that adrenaline has low HP, and because the adrenaline boxes, they get claimed based off the total damage done. So overkill does count it. Like if I was to LB that adrenaline box, we'd probably get it. But I'm not gonna do something like that because it's wasting too much for something that is so little of an advantage in comparison. But right here, I tried to Nistron just to steal it with the overkill, but it ends up being a mistake. That's why I said it was pretty ballsy. It didn't get me the box. But we do get this one though. Actually, I was mistaken as well. I thought we got it. Maybe it was I was thinking of another game. But right here, I see that Mash uses Safeguard as he dashes in. So he uses Safeguard offensively, and I'm taking note of that. Like, he's going to be a prime burst target soon because he's going to have his Shinten up and he's going to have his recoup still for the next burst we do on him. So we really want to get those out of the way if we burst him again. But I just changed my mind about bursting. I don't change my mind. I delay the burst on him. I wait till after this burst on their Bard to go to Mash because he still has Safeguard up. And the Bard right here, you see his positioning, right? He's playing really far up. So he's playing this far up to our team, and he has no defensives at all. And so as soon as the stun on me wears off, we go right on him. The Bard was the closest one on their team, and he died for that reason too. And they also used TBN on it too, so they wasted a lot just because of the Bard running in the melee range. And right there, Mash uses Shinten for, I think he used it offensively, not too sure, but he ends up using it, and I recognize that he has no Safeguard and he's going to have no Shinten now, so he's a prime burst target, and their team has no TBN. So end up bursting him, and he ends up almost dying actually. They used another TBN on that burst though. That was pretty good. It's going to make way for our next burst. But again, Mash was very, very close to dying there because we waited till he had both Safeguard and Shinten down. Right here, I make a good call defensively. I see that I have both Bard dots and the Yukikaze on me right here. And then I think I see a Soul Survivor, and based off my positioning, I know that I can get around the wall in line of sight they're ranged. And maybe their healer too if they were going to throw a Lord at me. But, and also just deny their melee's line of sight for just a half second just to give my healer more breathing room. Right here, as soon as I see that Soul Survivor, I'm making my way right here just to stay alive. I don't even have Safeguard, and I don't have heavy metals, but I have, like, I'm taking normal damage, and I just go there just to survive. They've tried to unmend me, but we'll see what happens here. It's kind of a whole, like, splurge of abilities. So I get unmended. Because I line of sighted the unmend after it came off, it just pulls me into the wall and I don't really go anywhere. And I think I try to elusive backwards just to stay alive. And I think I get stunned. Yeah, I don't really go anywhere, but I do it anyways, and it takes off that bind, which is pretty good. And I get out of their melee's GCD range. Even though elusive doesn't give you any, like, increased defenses or anything like that, it can be really good to just get out of range of their ranged and just to get out of range of their melees. So it's still good to use defensively. You just have to recognize that you're being bursted. Like right here, I see all these debuffs on me. There's 3 debuffs on me and no one else on my team. Even though Nyx has no safeguard at the moment, but it's going to be coming up soon, but she's got 2 heavy metals, so she's a prime burst target. But again, I recognize they're bursting me, and I use everything I can just to survive. I think for this next burst, I was pretty confused on what to go on, because Seraph, even though he's playing at a really questionable place, he's got light metals and both his defensives. So, not going to call the tank, not going to call the Bard with light metals and both defenses right now. Not going to call Mash, who is using Shinten for any reason. I'm calling the healer on this one, and I don't think it was a... I ended up just doing shit by myself, but even though, like, I was by myself on that burst, we still got TBN and Lightspeed. So, it wasn't for nothing. It's just the next burst after that is going to be a really good one. But I think the next burst is going to be pretty rough, though, mainly because even though we made room with both Lightspeed and TBN being used, both their DPS have recoup and safeguard. So I don't think we get a kill just yet. I almost get unmended onto that, which is pretty funny. But Mash uses safeguard for no reason here, and I don't call him because it's up. I decide to call the healer again, mainly because going on the DPS would pretty much get us nothing with both light metals and safeguard on both. So I call the healer because I think we had the greatest chance of killing them out of anyone on their team right now. And I call them regardless of their positioning. I try to elusive at them, but I end up missing. And like I said earlier about jump, I recognize their positioning, that they were close to like that edge of the wall right here. I see that it's either they could cut this way, and they do, and I hit jump, or they could cut that way. If they cut that way, I'm like completely fucked. But they decide to cut this way, and hitting jump allows me to go around the corner again and end up right here because of the way the jump line of sight works. I don't think we killed them though. Yeah. They used TBN on that one. And they used both their I think the healer here only died because they're inexperienced. They should have casted healer LB here instead of casting concentration after purify. I think we only got this kill because the healer is new, but they end up blowing TBN, well not TBN but tank LB on it, so that was pretty good for us. I call Praisley here mainly because I had LB and I had buffs too. Like we had so much damage even though their tank LB was falling off, and normally calling the tanks can be pretty spooky because they have so much defensive stuff and they have the damage reduction with tank stance. But I had my Dragon Sight and I had LB and their tank LB was falling off, so I was pretty confident that we could have killed anyone on their team regardless. So I end up LBing him. And then that was the 2 Dragoon games. I could have picked a couple better games, but I just really wanted to get this video out of the way, to be honest with you. Like as I said, I could do games at Diamond where there won't be healers making mistakes like using their concentrate after everything's happened. And not hitting their healer LB. But again, maybe next season. A lot of the players are gold plat right now anyways. There's not many diamond players in season 10. Mainly because the rewards are kind of lame. But for this one, so this one was pretty spooky. Mainly because we have a new melee and we have herp healing. Not to say that herp's a bad player, it's just I don't think healing is his main role. And then he's being supported by a warrior too, so I know this game it's gonna be rough. I end up doing the countdowns on this game too. Also, what was I gonna say? It's Black Mage versus Black Mage, and I think I don't end up calling him at all, really, just because of the way he was playing. I mainly called the melee and the healer a lot. The tank on their team did stun me a lot, which was really annoying. In hindsight, I think I should have run Concentrate for this game. I know that Accelerator runs Purify, but I don't think I'm really good at using that yet. But right here, I think I do it on the melee just because it's the safest one. Again, I know that this game, our defenses are going to be pretty scuffed because Herp's on an off roll and he's being supported by a warrior, and we have a new melee, so it's not like we're going to have an extremely crazy offensive power. So I decided to go for the safest target, and I just do Fire Force and the Thunder, pretty basic. And I don't like using Nightwing on the first burst. I will do it occasionally, but I don't do it here, mainly because the healer has Purify and both DPS have their safeguards, so nothing is going to happen if I Purify or if I use Nightwing, because he's going to Purify it, or if he doesn't, the melee is going to use their safeguard. But as it happens, I think Chibi, does he cure to the wrong person? I don't know. Right here is pretty weird because Zero is a good player and he uses safeguard for no reason. I think he might have like mishit it or something. But oh, he gets Yukikaze on him and he instantly uses safeguard. So the melee actually did scare him with that. Yeah, and the cure 2, I don't think Chibi uses Tetra there, and Sirith dies. So right here, I'm thinking, okay, I didn't recognize that Chibi held Tetra here, so I decided to call him. And I think he lives mainly because he uses Tetra and Protect on himself. But the thing about this burst is that I do use Nightwing, but it's not on the healer. It's on the tank while we're bursting the healer, just so there's no stun and there's no TBN. But I think my sleep is a little bit too late. Yeah, because he does get the stun off on me. I do sleep him, but I'm stunned, so I can't really get the critical fire for whatever I decided to do here. I try to swift cast to get it off, but it's not enough. And then you end up using both TBN and Protect on this burst, so our next burst is going to be pretty good. So I decided to call Zero mainly because Sirith just respawned, so he's not going to have burst. So we can get this burst off pretty safely. I think when I make the call on Zero, I don't recognize his positioning, or I think in hindsight, I should have done. Wait, hold on. Okay, I think I should have manipped to Adrienne just to get the line of sight on Zero. That would have been pretty beneficial for me. But instead, I do Thunder proc and then Foul. I end up converting mainly because I couldn't line of sight. I couldn't get line of sight of Zero, I should have tab targeted and hit someone, but again, I was just unaware of Zero's positioning when I called him. That was just like a pretty sloppy play. And that's something to really take note of when you're playing, is just to look for the enemy player's positioning when you're making a call on them. Like maybe it's too deep for you to go in safely, like you're gonna die going for them, or they're out of range of the other players of your team. Like right there, I made the call and I wasn't ready for it. I screwed myself. But right here, I make the call on Syrupy mainly because he's the closest person on their team, and he also has no safeguard. So it's a pretty safe burst. Again, this game I'm just trying to play safe. Almost dropped my Astral Fire there though. Yeah, right here, team's looking pretty low. I decided to call the healer here, mainly because of how close they were playing. Yeah, like the way the healer was, is that I could get off at least 2 Fire 4s before he went behind the wall with that positioning. Like if he did run, I'd have my Swift Cast what came up right there. And let's see, I end up using Muse on this one, and I'm just gonna take a quick anecdote here just to talk about Muse. Muse, although I admittedly do get a lot of heat for it, it's really good because in order to build your bursts, which is based off MP as Black Mage, you have to be turreting and constantly casting Blizzard 4. But Muse allows you to be ready for a burst without turreting. So you can be kiting or adjusting your positioning and be ready for a burst. So it's just more burst frequency, and if you can live without using recoup, then it's the better decision. But if they're on you all the time, recoup would be the better decision. But just how the games are playing, I don't believe I need recoup at the moment. And right here, I think the reason I use Muse here is because I'm trying to extend my fire forecasts. So if you take a look at my Astral Fire right here, I have 6 seconds left, and before I used Muse, I had 1,500 MP. So I wouldn't be able to cast anything but go into Blizzard, and that wouldn't have been strong enough to get him. I don't think that damage would have been enough to kill him here, just casting Blizzard 4s. And also, by giving myself more MP to cast more Fire 4s, my Astral Fire is going to time out when I'm getting foul. So I'll get a foul outside of Convert, which is pretty good, because foul is such a strong ability. But unfortunately, Herp gets slept without Purify, and Ella dies. It was just unfortunate. I end up blowing my foul on Chibi anyways though, just to get it out of the way, because I'm gonna have another one by the time Ella's ready. It's better to use it than to never, it's better to use it than to just have it overlap. And right here, I think I focus on getting the adrenaline. I changed my positioning by using Manip just to get where Herp is. I think right here I also use Nightwing defensively. Again, I'm just trying to play safe this game. I end up sleeping both their melee and their tank just to keep Adrian alive. I end up taking the melee, not the melee LB. I'm taking the LB box here because I don't trust the melee that I'm playing with, because I knew they were no. And because Caster LB is really strong. It's just the main problem with it is that most casters don't get the LB box. So by the time they are using LB, the tank has their LB. So the caster LB equals tank LB, which is like this. It's like nothing ever happened, because the damage that would be increased is just reduced equally. And right here, I make the call on Syrupy because he's got, I think he was closer earlier, but right here, all their defensive cooldowns are reset. So it's like the start of the game basically. Everyone's got everything. I just need to start getting people's safeguards and getting people's defensive abilities so I can create openings for a kill. So right here, I just started with Syrupy mainly because he's the safest target to go on. I get stunned and they use Protect. It's pretty unfortunate. But we get Protect and Safeguard, which is pretty good. And TBN, we get a lot of defensive cooldowns. So the next burst should be a kill because they committed so much to that. So I'm going to want to, again, Zero right here uses Safeguard for no reason. The next burst is really important because they committed so much to this one. The next person should die. So I'm going to be doing it again on Syrupy. I'm doing another countdown on him again because he's already got Butchers and I'm set up for my burst. I got full MP, T-proc, and they have no defensive skills to stop the burst. Yeah, I didn't even need my swift cast there. Let's see. Right here, I think I call a burst on their healer. I like, against white mages, I like calling bursts on them after a target died because there's a lot of times where they'll overcommit their cooldowns and they'll leave them open. Like right there, his Benison wore off. So this burst is going to be without Benison. And Chibi is doing a really good job of just like doing donuts around the wall right here. So it's going to be really, really, really hard for me to get him. Yeah, see, it just cancels. I try to adjust my positioning because I anticipate him to come back around, but it ends up being no dice because not a lot of people were on him. Right there, I let my Astral Fire time out mainly because I already had an Umbral Heart and my Swift Cast was coming up, so I'm gonna get a Convert Burst. What would be a Convert Burst without Convert? So I call Zero because here because I'm going to be doing a really fast burst with Nightwing and Foul. Like, if it was a Fire 4 burst, it would be better to call a closer target because you're going to be continuously casting Fire 4s, and as that's happening, they're going to be line of sighting you and running away. When you have Foul and Swift Cast, you can call far targets mainly because you only need that one ability to get off. I do Thunder, and then I do Nightwing, and then I do Foul, and he's gone. And right here, I start, see, anticipating the Wolf's Heart with an LB can sometimes be, it can be all over the place sometimes because it depends, it's server tick based. If the Wolf's Heart doesn't exactly spawn at 30 minutes, not 30 minutes, it's 3 minutes. It's kind of like server tick based. It can sometimes be 259 or it can be 301. I think there it was a little early, so my thing came off. Right there, I manip through the middle, mainly to get the medals without getting the Wolf's Heart. The thing is, like, manip, even though it brings you across the area, it doesn't count you actually standing there. Like, you can't just be stopped in the middle of a manip. It's either the end or the beginning. So it's not going to register me ever getting that Wolf's Heart even though I go right across it. Yeah. And so because of that, I'm able to get the medals without doing without meandering around it, if that makes any sense. Like without having to make a path like this, where I'm just walking around doing nothing getting the medals. Manipping there gave me a little bit of time. So right here, because of that LB I did earlier, it's going to be increased damage on a lot of them. I decided to go for the melee because I think their healer's in a really good spot where I would not be able to kill him. Like, I don't have foul, so I can't really do a huge chunk of damage before he line of sights. Fire Force, he would just run away, so I decided to just take advantage of the damage increase on Syrupy here. And he has Safeguard, and he has a Protect used on him. I don't think he uses Safeguard for that one though. That was good by him. I do end up calling him again though, mainly because he's just pushing in. It's a remember this game, I'm just trying to play safe, reiterating that. I'm calling the safest target, and we also have medals on me, so I don't really want to stick my face out there. And Ella's got no Safeguard too. It's better to call the melee when you're low on defenses. Or it looks like your team's gonna die. But again, I called him before the tank LB went off. If I knew the tank LB was gonna come off, I might have called someone else. But I was making this call thinking we had no defensives, but our team used tank LB. I think, let's see what happens here. I get stunned, and these Benison. I end up using my Thunder on Syrupy, even though he has Protect, mainly because I'm probably going to be calling him again. It would have been more damage to... It's usually better to build your Thunder off the tank or the melee, because they're going to be in your face. They can't just be like running out of range of you. And I decided to go for Syrupy here because we're going to go on him again. It would have been more damage to have the dots ticking on a target that didn't have the Protect reduction, like the tank for example, but I just do it on Syrupy anyways. It's also better just to pressure him in general, but I think as soon as I get the proc, I was just pressuring Syrupy actually. That was the thinking I was doing at the time. But right here, I decided to do the call on Chibi because he's so close to everyone. And Syrupy also had Benison used on him. So right here, I honestly make a series of mistakes. There's a certain burst you can do on Black Mage where you can do foul and then you can do flare and then foul, and it's only achievable when you have swift cast and you also have convert, and your bar is looking like this because you're going to be using your Umbral Heart as you're getting your next one. But I think I do a convert early. So I do Fire 4, T-Proc, Swift Cast Foul, and then what I should have done is I should have waited a half second to get my convert, or to get my Umbral Heart before hitting convert. It's okay if I clip as long as I get the foul from the Umbral Heart, but I didn't. I did it early. I pulled the trigger too early and I made a mistake, but it didn't matter. It mattered for the follow-up kills, but it didn't matter for the call on Chibi. And also, if you look here on this burst, what I like to do sometimes is, if we're doing a call on the healer, sometimes I'll Nightwing the healer just to break their cast if I know they're going to be hard casting. It's a white mage, he's going to have to be hard casting. I do a sleep on him just to break his Cure 2 cast, but there wasn't one happening, and also it gets broken instantly. Sleep can think it is also something that can be server tick based. Like, you can use sleep and they get hit and it doesn't count, just because it didn't register on them. You can see the sleep debuff on them at like 3 seconds, and then they get hit by something and it won't count. But there, I got an unlucky server tick, and the Nightwing ends up being for nothing. Although I did sleep 0 along with it, so it was guess the collateral damage just saved us from some pressure. Herp was also low on MP, but he didn't use Muse until later. Right here, I make the call on the tank because he's the closest target and both their DPS have safeguard. So what I want to do right here is I want to get their tank LB, because no matter what, I'm going to be getting a safeguard from any of them, and they're probably going to get safeguard TBN along with the light metals. That's so much reduction. That's like 35% reduction, and then their HP is increased. That was rough math, probably wrong, but the 35% damage reduction on top of the increased HP from TBN, that's safeguard, light metals, and then TBN. I don't think they're gonna die, so I'm just trying to get the tank to use his tank LB. So an experienced tank would have used both their defensives earlier and tank LB, but he decides not to do any of those. So he just falls over and we win. My Black Mage games in general were pretty scuffed. That wasn't the best game, but again, it was just footage to get a video out. So this game, the last game, I was the one making countdowns, but this is a game where I'm following someone else's countdowns. I'm following Elemental's countdowns here, and so instead of reading the game through my understanding, we're going to be reading it through Elemental's understanding for this game. I'm just going to be following him around and making the calls based off what he thinks is the best. This is what I meant by just seeing the games in different ways. Like before, the previous 3 games were making decisions based off what I thought was the best. Now we're going to be making them based off what Elemental thinks is the best, and I'm just going to be supporting him with however I can. I always ping hello a shitload when I'm playing, and Muse allows that to really happen though, because I'm always ready to burst because I have that there. It's like you basically have a free fire force sitting there whenever you want it, so you're always ready. But right here, Mash blows all his defensive cooldowns before we even commit anything. So I end up switching my Fire 4 to someone else because there's no point of attacking him. Even though he has Thunder on him, blowing all my Fire 4s isn't going to change anything. So I just decide to pressure the Bard just to get his defensives instead, because anything on Mash would just be a waste. I don't think they're going to use any more defensives. We're not going to kill him, so I'm changing my target just to get more defensives. Almost die here. Have like a little manip. But as you can see, those Fire 4s that I swapped from Mash gotta protect on the Bard now. So it was a good decision in the end. But I'm picking hello, waiting for Elemental's countdown, and he makes the same decision that I do, or I would have done in the previous, like I showed in the previous games. He decides to call the melee after they've used all their defensives because it's an opening for a kill now. They shouldn't have protect. They have a warrior. There's nothing coming from him. They have no Shinten. They have no safeguard. He should die. I'm also using my Nightwing here to break Lumiel's here too. It took a little bit to get him, but we did get him. Right here, I set up a Thunder on the healer. Normally it's not a good decision to build your Thunder off the healer, but because they are more prone to line of sighting than anyone on the enemy team. But with Lemieux's positioning right here, I decide that the way he's running, it doesn't look like he plans on line of sighting anytime soon, so I'm going to be getting off a lot of damage. Like if he ran this way, he would have line of sighted. If he ran this way, he would have line of sighted, but he decides to run straight up the stairs, so I'm going to get off my damage. I decide to Muse here, just so I can keep up with the burst. If I didn't have Muse, I would have had to use Blown Convert for that. And he clearly died without using my minute-long cooldown. Well, my Convert cooldown, which is a huge cooldown. Muse is still a minute, but Muse was the reason I got that kill. I could have easily used Convert for it, but I think Convert is a much stronger cooldown, and I didn't need it there. So right here, I put my Thunder proc on the warrior, not the bard or melee, because the melee wouldn't even count with that invuln, and that's going to be easiest to build up my next proc off the warrior. But Elemento calls the bard here, and if I was the one making calls, I would have changed my Thunder target, because I didn't expect him to make a burst so soon. Well, with the healer down, I did. I just didn't expect it to be on the bard that was like kiting everyone, because look at the bard's positioning in relation to both our melees. I didn't expect them to call him when he's just gonna like run around and like, you know, be out of their range. But I pick up the medals as I'm going up, and right here, because I used Muse instead of a Convert, my Astral Fire is gonna time out, and I'm gonna have a foul outside of Convert. Muse is really good at giving you fouls outside of Convert, and right here I have one. I don't think we get him though. Yeah, it's close. Right here, as I said before about scuffed black mage games, I use I don't even know why I hit Convert. That was just like brain fart. And like I don't even have a note can. I just like my spaghetti's all over the place right now. But anyways, I end up trying to pressure the bard right here. He's already pretty low and his safeguard's coming up, so hopefully he's gonna be scared and use it right here. But he doesn't use it, so it was a good play by him. A lot of players, especially newer ones, would have been scared with their HP that low, because like normally when you start getting hit, you kind of eye your defensives, and right there he knew not to use it. It was good for him. I tried to get defensives while Elemento was dead. I tried to make openings when he's up for calls. Openings where there was no defensives to mitigate it. So right here, I like to build Thunder off the warrior, or just tanks. As soon as the tanks get their stacks, I really like to build Thunder off them, because the tanks mainly just sit there taking damage without caring, without line of sighting. Melees will sometimes line of sight you, but tanks are the least likely player in the enemy team to line of sight you. They're just going to be face tanking, so you can build your Thunder up, and you should get a Thunder every time you put a Thunder on the tank, because they're just going to sit there and take it like this guy is. So right here, he decides to call the warrior. Now the warrior is playing pretty far up, and he's also got Lord on him. I don't think, someone might have baited the protect on Mash here, but the Bard is not a good target because he has his safeguard up, and he's playing he's not playing pretty far back, but he's playing in a place where he could repelling and be in a really good spot, especially away from me. So he stuns me, but my Fire Force still goes off. I end up Thunder procking and Swift Cast Fire 4ing to still keep up with the burst, but not sacrificing myself by just standing there and tanking all of that, because they did blow barrage and a lot of stuff on me. And right here, I think my Nightwing cancels one of Lumi's casts. I think he was reapplying regen or something there, but I basically, just by using procs the right way and Swiftcast, we were able to kill him while he was slept. He also didn't have Purify, that's why we killed him. Lumiel couldn't purify the sleep. Let's see. Right here. So this is an interesting decision I make. I see that Elemento is calling the healer for the same reason that I would have called the healer. Like, as I said before in my previous game, is that usually it's a good decision to go on the white mages after you've killed someone, because you're assuming that they blew so many cooldowns just to keep them alive, so they're going to have not much for themselves. Lumiel's also out of position here too. And even though Elemental makes the call on Lumiel, I recognize that Mash, who I'm building my burst off of, is getting pretty low, and Lumiel's running away from both the tank and the warrior. Or not the tank and the warrior, the tank and the melee, sorry. So I decide to just try to split the damage here just to mess with them. Like, if Lumiel's trying to keep himself alive from the warrior and the melee, I might be able to kill Mash. The main reason I made this decision is because if Lumiel was just standing out in the open and I could get off my stuff on him, yeah, we'd kill him for sure. But he wasn't. He was right around here. So I decided that I'm just gonna free cast on Mash and see if splitting the damage will get us somewhere. Like, he's running back, right? And Mash is across the map. I'm just trying to take advantage of Mash's positioning. I think Lumiel does a good job keeping himself alive, and Mash dashes back, but he's got no TP. So right here, he blue protect, so our next burst is going to be really strong. I think, again, I wait for my Astral Fire to fall, so I have a foul here. I think I wait a bit, because I was anticipating a follow-up countdown after Lumiel's protect wore off. If I was making the calls, I would have done one faster than Elemento here, just to take advantage of protect being down. But again, I was anticipating something. That's why I'm sitting here with Swift Cast Foul waiting. And then he decides to call Victory Red, and I just do Swift Cast Foul. But Elemental dies, and we can't take advantage of that foul. I end up using Muse there just so I can build my Thunder proc ready faster. So right here, I'm trying to build my Thunder while running away. They're either gonna go on me or the healer in this situation, and I want to be running back while building my burst. So I use Muse so I can Thunder and also run back and be ready for a burst. So I'm just running back, alternating between Blizzard and Fire, and I'm building Thunder, or building my proc. As soon as they stop, I stop, and I build up my Thunder, and now I think I end up just dying here, yeah. I try to Nightwing to keep myself alive. Like, I get off it on all their DPS, or all their warrior and the 2 to DPS, but it doesn't change anything. I end up dying anyway. Yeah. So right here, Lumiel's in a really tough spot. He's got low MP, a stack, and he used Protect. And we have all of our LBs. So we really need to just, with the way the damage is now, we can just sit on him and he's gonna die. So if I was the one making calls, I would call Lumiel. I don't remember what Elemental makes here though. Also, Mash used Chiten, so if we do kill Lumiel, Mash is going to be a really good target because he doesn't have Chiten and he doesn't have Safeguard. So Lumiel's in a pretty hard to hit spot, I'd say. So what I end up doing here is I end up swift casting just to get to him, and then end up T-procking, and so I tab target just to refresh my Umbral Ice, just so I can keep building my Umbral Heart. And I don't think I do anything else to add to the burst except LB. I LB here mainly because Lumiel's like doing donuts around the wall. I think I can't hit him if he's doing anything like that, and I don't have any procs or swift cast. So I just do limit break here because it's gonna cover a huge portion, almost like 80% of the wall is gonna get hit by this. So Lumiel runs around to line of sight me, and he ends up being in the LB. So he's got no Purify, and he has the damage up on him now. And I use Tank LB to try to stop the Caster LB. So right here, I would have called a burst like a couple seconds ago, but I'm just waiting for Elemental to make a call. Right here I could get a 4-man sleep really easily, but I'm just waiting for Elemental to make a call. And he makes the decision to go onto Mash, who used Chiten I think 20 seconds ago, but is still a prime target based off his positioning and no safeguard. Actually 30 seconds ago, he has it right here. And I end up just doing a swift cast, Fire 4, and Nightwing, and we get Lumiel's Purify. So this is good because the next burst on Lumiel is we're gonna get the full duration of the stuns on him. So he's likely gonna die to the next burst. I'm surprised we didn't kill Mash here, to be honest, but they used a lot of white mage cooldowns just to get him. So right here, Chibi actually calls the healer, and because Chibi probably called it because he's the one doing the CC, so he recognized that Lumiel has no Purify and would take the full effect of it. So right here, I don't have anything to follow up. I think I convert. Yeah, I try to convert, but it ends up being scuffed. I think I tab target. I try to hit someone. I try to tab target to like. Let's see. Honestly, I don't even understand the decision I'm making here. He LBs into Protect, and I try to foul to follow up, but he runs around, and I just give up on hitting Lumiel. I just decided that Elemental's LB, we're not going to get anything from it just because of Lumiel's positioning, so I decided to foul someone else just for pressure. I try to get it on the warrior, but I end up just hitting the melee. And then right here, I try the boxes towards the end, as I said towards the beginning of the video, are really, really important. So I wanted to focus on getting it. I think I got the one over here. Okay. Never mind, fuck the boxes. It's calling. Normally it would have been the safer decision to go for the boxes, but we're in a pretty desperate situation. Normally it's like the better decision to get boxes, and because if you're getting boxes, even if you're not getting your LB, you're denying the enemy LB. But right here it's calling, Lumiel has a stack, and his positioning is right there. It's juicy. I'm gonna get off at least 2 Fire 4s before he goes around anywhere. And he's just gonna be taking so much damage. I end up just Fire 4ing him just to push him back, so his team has to get back. And that allows me to get that box without them contesting it. And then Elemental makes the call on the meal after he uses Protect, and I think he dies here. I do like a Swift Cast Fire 4, yeah. Let's see. Why did I do Swift Cast? Oh, I think I just wanted to take advantage of his Cure 2 coming out late, so I'd get off 2 Fire 4s before his Cure 2 counts. And then I use Safeguard here just to be safe. I think we call the Bard here. I'm not sure why we called the Bard here over the melee, but I think we do end up getting him. I cast Flare because I had no MP for Fire 4, and while I'm hard casting Flare, I get the MP tick for Fire 4. Ends up being 100% overkill anyway. But right here, I noticed an opportunity to attempt a 3-man Nightwing, but Lumiel was had the invuln, so didn't really affect them at all. Again, these Black Mage games are super scuffed. I should probably look to get better games. So right here, I think he does the call on mash just to pressure him. Although right here, it's all or nothing for the red team. It's better in this situation, like I said before, just to deny the melee, because the melee is going to be doing, the most damage. So it's better to pressure him and make him try to fall back and miss GCDs and miss damage, because if he commits, he's likely going to die. Elemento and I would make the same decision here. But he ends up using both his defensives, and I think I immediately decide to go on the warrior. Yeah, I decided to try to build my I decided to just put GCDs on someone else after seeing all those defensives. But again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, and in the game against Dravioli, where I anticipated him to drop his stance, he didn't. But in this game is an example of where the tank drops stance and out of desperation, because it's all or nothing for them. So it right here is a good decision to go on the warrior, because he's committing everything and he's not using stance, so you're going to be getting off a lot of damage with those 2 stacks. But I think because the warrior had both his defensives, the melee is still the better call. But this is just to demonstrate that this is something that tanks do towards the end of the game. We ended up not even killing him anyways. But that was just 4 games. think I might make a different video with better quality games when it's like Plat Diamond, or yeah, Plat Diamond. Mainly because we're gonna be seeing less times where people are using defensives for no reason. So you'll have to incorporate things like baits just to get it, instead of just like them using it for almost nothing. Like you'll have to commit like a Fire 4 or something just to get their defensives. But yeah, that was how I would do countdowns in games, and that's how I would make decisions based off the things I see in the game. And hopefully this helps some people out. But just let me know if it did. Thank you.